I flew clear across the country to surprise my dad for his birthday only to get hit with the news that I wasn't even invited. So yeah, I decided I was done. I pulled the plug on the whole family. 3 days later, I woke up to 49 missed calls. You ever hear that old saying, family is forever? Sure. Until you're 1,350 miles away and the only thing they really miss is your bank account. So strap in, boys. This one's gonna get bumpy. I'm a 26-year-old guy, and for the past 6 years or so, I've been helping my dad out financially. Not because I'm a sucker or anything, I did it because, at the time, we actually had a solid bond. He stepped up big time after Mom walked out when I was 12. Picked up every shift he could, never missed a single game, always showed up. So when I landed my first real job after college at a tech firm out in Chicago about 2,500 miles from our place in Nevada, he was the one who encouraged me to go for it. Don't worry about me, he told me. Go out there and make something of yourself. So that's what I did. At first, helping him out made sense. His old truck crapped out and he was between jobs. Then came the medical bills after knee surgery. His insurance didn't cover everything. It was the kind of support you give without thinking twice. He always thanked me like crazy, said he'd pay me back even though we both knew it wasn't about that. It never got awkward between us. I still remember the first time I stepped in. The truck he had, an old Ram 1500, same one he taught me to drive in, finally gave out. Transmission was toast and the look on his face after hearing the mechanic's quote said it all. It was $3,150. For a guy doing construction gigs here and there, it may as well have been $100,000. I'll figure something out, he said over the phone, his voice all full of that stubborn pride. He mentioned maybe catching rides with a buddy who lived half an hour in the opposite direction of his job. That plan was clearly falling apart before it even started. So I picked up the phone from my apartment in Chicago, called the shop, and slapped the bill on my credit card. Then I shot him a text, truck'll be ready Thursday. Call it payback for every 5 a.m. hockey practice you drove me to. When I flew back home that Christmas, he hugged me like it was the first time in years. Got all teary-eyed and swore he'd pay me back. I told him not to sweat it. The way he looked at me, that pride and gratitude all rolled into one, was worth more than any repayment. For a while, everything worked great. I was making good money, he was calling just to check in, and we kept our father-son rhythm going, even from a couple thousand miles apart. I even helped him put money down on a house. I was proud to do it, honestly. The man had spent years cramped in a tiny apartment just to make sure I had a decent shot in life. Helping him get a place of his own felt like the least I could do. It wasn't a mansion or anything. Just a simple 3-bedroom ranch in a decent neighborhood. But you'd have thought I handed him the keys to a castle the way he went on about it. He'd send me photos every time he fixed something up. Finally got a real garage, he texted once, with a pic of all his tools neatly hanging on the wall. I'd fly home every few months whenever I could. We'd fire up the grill, catch the game, and he'd show me whatever project he was working on. Didn't matter what time I landed, he always picked me up himself. Man, those were good days. Real good. Then he met her. My stepmom. I gave it a real shot, I mean that. She seemed alright at first. Polite enough. But it didn't take long before I saw the red flags waving. She had a taste for the finer things. Suddenly Dad was all about upgrades, renovating this, replacing that, planning trips, talking about new clothes and a better car. She was maybe 5 years younger than him, platinum blonde, loud laugh, always dressed like she was going to some upscale brunch even if we were just chilling in the living room. Within 3 months of dating, she'd already convinced him the kitchen had to have granite countertops. The old ones were fine, solid, clean, nothing wrong with them. But apparently they were too dated. And somehow I kept getting roped into covering the cost of these needs. What started as occasional help turned into a steady stream of support. Dad would call more often, but if we weren't talking money, the calls barely lasted a few minutes. Still, I kept sending cash, telling myself this was just a rough patch, nothing more. But the way he talked changed too. It used to be, how's work going, son? Or you catch the game last night? Now it was always, hey bud, got a sec? Which really meant I need a favor. And then there's my brother. We were never all that close growing up, but we kept it respectful. He ended up moving back in with Dad after dropping out of college. Said he needed time to figure things out, which mostly looked like playing video games around the clock and barely lifting a finger to job hunt. Every time I visited, he'd throw out these passive-aggressive jabs about how lucky I was to have a good job. Like it just landed in my lap or something. He's 2 years younger than me. Where I got Dad's mindset, practical, hardworking, sports guy, he took after Mom. Always chasing something creative, always bouncing from one idea to the next, thinking he was meant for bigger things. Maybe that's why Dad cut him so much slack. But while I was juggling college classes, part-time jobs, and student debt, he was busy blowing his freshman year partying on Dad's dime. When he finally dropped out claiming school just didn't fit his artistic spirit, I didn't say a word. Just swallowed my opinions and moved on. But let's be honest, his version of artistic growth looked a lot like staying up until 4 a.m. gaming and sleeping until noon. Whenever I came home, he barely looked up from his screen. Unless, of course, he needed cash to float him until his next gig, whatever that was supposed to be. Spoiler alert, those gigs never showed up. Somewhere along the way, things shifted. Those heartfelt, "Thanks, son. I really appreciate it" moments started disappearing. They got replaced by this weird vibe like I owed them something. It stopped being requests. It became routine. Expected. The gratitude disappeared and in its place came entitlement. Like the time I flew home for Thanksgiving and saw this brand new, wall-mounted, 75-inch smart TV. "Nice upgrade," I said, eyeing the massive screen on his wall. I couldn't help but remember the 55-inch we'd picked out together during my last trip home. "Marla found it on sale," he replied with a shrug, like it was no big deal. Then, right on cue, he added, "Been meaning to tell you, property taxes went up this year. We're looking at about $1,500 more than expected." There wasn't even the slightest hint that he connected those two things, the surprise TV splurge and the bump in expenses. And weirdly, for the first time ever, Dad didn't come pick me up from the airport that visit. Said his knee was flaring up. But there he was, moving around just fine, proudly pointing out how he mounted the TV himself like he was still in his prime. Still, I didn't fully see what was happening. Loyalty has a way of blinding you when it's family. That stuff runs deep. Anyway, 2 months ago, Dad called to talk about his upcoming 65th birthday. "Big milestone," he said. "Time to do it right." He actually sounded excited, more excited than I'd heard him in a long time. Nothing over the top, he told me, just a little celebration at the Monarch Inn. Close friends, family. Something nice. It was good to hear some life in his voice again. The Monarch Inn, though, that's not your average event space. We're talking $250 a head, easy, just to rent out a room and feed people. Still, if this meant I'd get to see Dad enjoying himself like he used to, I figured it was worth it. "Send me the details," I told him. "I'd love to help make it happen." He got all sentimental on the phone. Told me how much it would mean to have everyone together. How he couldn't wait to catch up, just the two of us. Said this was going to be a turning point. A fresh start. "It's been too long since we really talked," he said. And for a moment, it felt like he was my old man again, the one who called just to say hi, not to ask for money. "I miss that," he said. "Yeah," I replied, "I miss it too." And I meant it. Over the next few weeks, I wired over enough to cover the venue, 12 grand, give or take. Helped narrow down menu options over a few phone calls. Even gave my opinion on the music playlist. He kept me looped in, who was invited, how the night would go, everything. "Auntie is flying in from Tucson," he texted one day. "Uncle Jay and his new wife are coming too." It was shaping up to be a full-on family reunion. People I hadn't seen in years were all going to be there. "This is gonna be great," he texted. Everyone's excited. Looking back, I should have realized he never once said he was excited to see me. But I was buried in work, and honestly, it just felt good to be part of something that brought him joy. It felt like maybe we were finally fixing things. No formal invite ever showed up. But why would I need one? I was practically co-hosting the damn thing. So I booked a cross-country flight, blocked off 3 days from work, and got myself a hotel room close to the venue. The day before the party, I texted Dad while packing my bag. "Hey, just confirming, doors open at 8? "Yeah," he replied. "Dinner at 9. No mention of picking me up. "No, can't wait to see you." Nothing like that. But I brushed it off. Figured he was just busy handling last-minute stuff. I even went all out for this thing. Bought myself a brand new charcoal gray Miles Avery suit. First high-end suit I've ever owned. Cost me close to $2,600. I'm not really a designer guy, but this felt like a big moment. Seeing family I hadn't been around in years, maybe resetting things with Dad. After flying 5 hours, I figured the least I could do was look sharp, even if I was half delirious from the jet lag. The morning of the party, I sent a quick, "Can't wait for tonight" text. No reply. But again, I told myself he was probably just scrambling to get things together. I got a haircut, picked up my suit from the tailor, even dropped a little extra on some fancy cologne. It felt like this was going to be the moment we finally turned the page. My flight landed around 5:15. Just enough time to grab the rental car, check into the hotel, clean up, and get dressed. Driving through my old neighborhood was surreal. I'd traveled 2,500 miles for this. Spent thousands on the flight, hotel, rental, and that damn suit. But in my mind, it was all worth it if it meant reconnecting with my dad and maybe finding some peace with the rest of the family. I got to the Monarch Inn right at 7, looking sharp and feeling cautiously hopeful. The place looked incredible. Elegant, upscale, everything you'd expect for the price tag. Crystal chandeliers, polished marble floors, staff in crisp uniforms gliding around like they were born to work 5-star events. Even the bathroom attendant looked like he pulled in 6 figures. As I walked through the lobby, I actually felt proud. Dad deserved a nice night, and I was glad I helped make it happen. I was ready to relax and finally talk to him. Not about bills or repairs, but about life. About us. What I didn't expect was the woman standing at the ballroom entrance, holding a clipboard. "Name?" she asked, all polite and professional. I gave her my name and added, "I'm his son, the birthday guy." She scanned the list, flipped a page, and looked back up with that tight, apologetic smile they teach you in customer service training. "I'm sorry, sir. I don't see your name on the list." I laughed a little, figured it had to be some kind of mix-up. "There's got to be a mistake," I said. "I helped organize this." "I'll check with the coordinator," she said, clicking her headset and stepping aside. I stood there in my $1,000 suit, watching other guests stream in. Familiar faces, family friends, cousins I hadn't seen in ages, even Dad's old bowling crew. My cousin Colby walked by and gave me a fist bump. "Nice suit, man," he said before heading inside with his wife. Then a staff guy came up to me. "Are you with one of the vendors? Catering? Maybe entertainment?" I shook my head, still calm. "No, I'm his son. I helped set all this up." He looked uncomfortable. "Just a moment." I pulled out my phone and texted Dad, "Hey, I'm at the door. They're saying I'm not on the list." No reply. 5 minutes. Nothing. 10. Still nothing. Through the open doors, I could see everyone laughing, mingling, having a great time. The whole room looked incredible. People I hadn't seen in years, all catching up like old times. Finally, I saw him, Dad, walking toward me. My brother tagging along a few steps behind like a spectator ready for a show. Dad had on a sharp new suit I'd never seen before. My brother wore that smug look he always gets when he knows something's about to go sideways. "Hey," Dad said without even a smile. "Didn't think you'd actually come." I blinked, confused. "What? I helped plan this. Of course I'm here." He looked around, then leaned in and lowered his voice. "Look," Dad started, voice low and serious. "We decided to keep tonight small. Just family." Those words landed like a punch I didn't see coming. "I am family," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "What the hell are you talking about?" My brother stepped in, all smug confidence. "You know what he means. Real family. The ones who are actually around for him, not just wiring money from across the country and showing up twice a year." He was dressed like he was heading to a fashion shoot, fresh shirt, designer jeans. Probably bought with that urgent plumbing money I sent Dad last month. I looked at them both, and slowly it started to click. "Wait, are you being serious right now?" I asked, my voice tightening. "I paid for this whole damn thing. The food, the venue, all of it." Dad shifted uncomfortably. At least he had the decency to look a little ashamed. "And we appreciate that," he said quietly. "We really do. But tonight, we wanted it to be a celebration without any, complications." "Complications," I repeated, letting that word hang between us. "That's what I am now?" He let out this long, drawn-out sigh, the kind that says you're being difficult, even when you're not. "You know things have been strained," he muttered. "We figured this would just be easier for everyone." One of the hotel staff nearby was suddenly very focused on rearranging a table that didn't need rearranging, clearly eavesdropping while pretending to work. He looked like a college kid, all neatly tucked in and fresh-faced. Just inside the doorway, I spotted my stepmom. She was dressed to the nines, jewelry sparkling under the lights, hair done up like she was trying to land a spot on a Real Housewives reunion special. As soon as our eyes met, she spun away, pretending to be deeply engrossed in whatever my aunt was rambling about. I took a deep breath. I didn't want to lose it. I knew blowing up wouldn't help. But walking away like some sucker wasn't on the table either. Not after I flew across the country. Not after dropping 12 grand on this charade. You know what? I said, voice calm and even. I think I'll stay. Dad's eyes went wide, just slightly. Look, son, eh? No, I cut in, keeping my tone firm. You look. I flew 2,500 miles to be here. I covered the cost of this entire event. This is happening. My brother stepped toward me, trying to play the tough guy. Dad said, I don't care what Dad said, I snapped, not moving an inch. I care about what I did, which was make tonight even possible. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Held it up. You want proof? Want to bring over the event coordinator and ask who made the deposit? Because I've got receipts, literally. My brother scoffed, that annoying smirk plastered on his face. Man, it's always about money with you, huh? That actually made me laugh. I couldn't help it. Coming from you? That's hilarious. You haven't paid your own phone bill in 3 years. How's the creative journey going? Made it to level 100 in Valor yet? He went red in the face, but of course didn't have anything to fire back. Funny how freeloaders always go quiet when you shine a light on their nonsense. Dad tried to pivot. Son, please. It's my birthday. Yeah, I said dryly. I know. I've got the credit card statements to prove it. Just like I've got the receipts for the last 6 birthdays, every Christmas, and that one time you had to get a fishing boat to help with your depression. Remember that? How's that working out? Because from where I'm standing, the only thing depressed is my bank account. The waiter, the one pretending not to be part of this train wreck, was now openly watching. A small grin tugged at the corner of his mouth. I caught his eye. Hey, I said casually, would you mind letting my aunt know I'd like to speak with her? She's the one chatting with the blonde over there who's about 80% filler and 20% attitude. Just tell her it's about a surprise for my dad. He straightened like I'd just given him a mission from God. My pleasure, sir, he said, clearly entertained and probably used to family dramas like this at upscale events. What are you doing? Dad hissed. Getting reinforcements, I replied simply. Or did you think I was going to just eat the cost of this party and sneak off without even a slice of cake? That's not how investments work, Dad. Even the bad ones. I caught my stepmom peeking from the doorway again, clutching that designer handbag like I might come repo it on the spot. Honestly, not a bad idea. I probably paid for it anyway. You're making a scene, my brother muttered. No, I said coolly. This is a conversation. A scene would be me walking in there and announcing that the open bar? Courtesy of the son who wasn't invited. I let that hang in the air for a moment. But don't worry, I added. I'm not doing that. Yet. Right then, my aunt stepped out into the hallway. Her face lit up when she saw me. There you are. We were wondering when you'd show up. She hugged me tight, then leaned back and immediately noticed the tension. What's going on? Apparently, I'm not on the guest list, I said, keeping my tone even. For the party I paid for. Her smile dropped. What? Dad was just explaining how I'm not really family because I live in Chicago, I continued. You know, the job I took so I could afford to bankroll his retirement and my brother's extended vacation from adulthood. She turned and gave Dad a look that could have sliced marble. Is this true? She asked. Dad looked like a kid caught red-handed. It's complicated. It's not, I cut in. Either I'm welcome here or I'm not. And if I'm not, I think everyone inside should hear about what kind of party they're enjoying. I've got a great toast prepared. Dad went pale. He knew exactly how far I was willing to take this. You wouldn't, my brother said, but he sounded unsure. Try me, I said. I've got nothing to lose. You made sure that the second you decided I was good enough to fund the party, but not good enough to be part of it. Kinda like how I wasn't invited to Thanksgiving last year, but still covered your emergency root canal, Marla. That rang a bell. My aunt was stunned. Of course you're welcome, she said, linking her arm through mine. This is absolutely ridiculous. She looked between Dad and my brother like she was ready to ground them both. You're coming in with me. Right now. My brother tried to protest. Aunt, maybe we should talk this out in private. Oh, I think we're well past that, she cut him off, sharp as a whip. She'd always been a force of nature. Your brother flew across the damn country and paid for everything. He's coming in. He opened his mouth to argue, but Dad gave him a look that shut him up cold. He knew the game was up. Fine, my brother muttered. But don't make a scene, my dad muttered as I walked past. I didn't even look at him. I didn't make the scene, I said, keeping my voice even as I moved forward with my aunt beside me. I'm just not gonna be the punchline. As we stepped into the ballroom, I could feel it, the ripple of heads turning. Whispers started before we'd even made it 10 feet. My stepmom's face dropped like she'd just seen a ghost. Or, more accurately, the check writer. My aunt wasn't about to let that slide. She marched me right up to her. "Look who I found getting stopped at the door," she said loudly enough for half the room to hear. "Can you believe someone forgot to put his name on the guest list? After he paid for the whole event." My stepmom's smile tried to hang on, but it was stretched so tight it looked like it might crack her foundation. "Oh, what a terrible oversight," she said. "So glad you could make it." "Wouldn't miss it for the world," I said with a smile that had about as much warmth as an airline meal. "Nice necklace, by the way. Looks a lot like the one from Cartier that popped up on my credit card bill last December." "What are the odds?" She reached up and touched the diamond pendant like it might disappear. "Your father has wonderful taste." "In jewelry?" "Sure," I replied. "Not so much in guest lists, apparently." I didn't wait for her response. I made a beeline for the bar. I needed something fizzy and ice-cold, preferably with a tiny umbrella. Might as well toast the absurdity properly. As we moved through the crowd, my aunt leaned over and whispered, "Okay, what's really going on?" 6 years of writing checks followed by a slap in the face, I murmured. "I've sent them nearly $250,000. Then they tried to keep me out of the party I paid for." She stopped mid-step. "$250,000? Yeah," I said. "I've got the receipts. Every transfer. I'll pay you back once things calm down. Every broken promise." "Jesus Christ," she breathed. "And tonight's just the cherry on top. They thought I wouldn't show. Figured they could spend my money, throw a party, and skip the inconvenience of me actually being here." She squeezed my arm. "What are you gonna do?" I smiled. "Enjoy the party. I paid for it after all." "Stay close," she said. "I've got your back." For the next hour, I played the part. Circulated the room like I wasn't boiling under the surface. Calm, composed. The good son. Every time someone said, "This is amazing," or "Your dad must be thrilled," I smiled and dropped lines like, "He should be." It only cost enough to put a down payment on a house or nothing but the best for dad on my dime. My aunt had started whispering to a few other relatives, and I noticed her glancing toward me as she spoke. The vibe in the room started to shift. A couple of uncles caught my eye and gave quiet nods. One even turned his back on my dad in a silent show of where he stood. Then I got a text from my aunt. "Told your uncles what happened. They're pissed. Uncle Jay wants to know about the money. Your cousin's sitting with your brother to keep him from starting anything. Team U is assembling." I smiled. Team U. For a second, I didn't feel so alone in that room. Across the way, I spotted my dad watching me nervously. He kept glancing my direction like he was bracing for impact. My brother hovered near the DJ booth like I might jump in and hijack the playlist. Joke's on him, my plan was way more interesting than that. Meanwhile, my stepmom was working hard to steer people away from me. I'd approach a group and, like clockwork, she'd swoop in. "Oh, you have to come see the photo collage over here," she'd chirp, practically dragging guests mid-conversation like a real-life social bouncer. I just smiled and waited. My moment was coming. The DJ caught my eye and gave a small nod. The cake was on its way out. Dinner was wrapping up. I checked the schedule I had planned, by the way, and knew it was almost time for the toasts. The DJ stepped up. "And now," he announced, "a few words from friends and family in honor of our guest of honor tonight." A few people spoke. Dad's bowling buddy told some old story about bar tabs and lucky strikes. His sister shared a sweet little memory from their childhood. Then my stepmom took the mic and gushed about how incredible my father was and how lucky she felt to be part of his life. I could see my brother starting to move, ready to grab the mic for his pre-approved speech, but my aunt beat him to it. "I believe my nephew has something to say," she said, rising from her chair and locking eyes with me. After all, none of this would have been possible without him. There was a light smattering of applause as I made my way to the front. My dad looked like he might choke on his wine. My stepmom leaned into my brother and whispered something fast. He started to stand up, but my uncle caught his arm and pulled him right back into his seat. I took the mic, smiled, and raised my glass. "I'd like to propose a toast to my father on this big 65th milestone." My voice was steady, confident, calm. "Our relationship has changed over the years," I continued. "And as I thought about what to give him tonight, I realized the most valuable gift I could offer is honesty." I let that breathe for a moment, then looked around the room. When Dad called me about this party, I was excited. Genuinely. I was happy to help him plan it. I was happy to cover the venue, the catering, everything. I flew across the country just to be here. A few people started to shift in their seats. I saw some furrowed brows. What many of you probably don't know, I went on, is that for the past 6 years I've been helping my dad financially. It started small, fixing his truck, covering some medical stuff. No problem. He's my dad, I love him. I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen. But over time, the asks kept coming. The thank yous got quieter. Eventually, the help turned into expectations. The money wasn't appreciated, it was assumed. I looked straight at my dad. In total, over the past 6 years, I've given you $261,940. Every single dollar accounted for. I have the bank records, the texts where you said it was just until things settled down, the emails thanking me for help that became permanent. The room went silent. You could hear the hum of the air conditioning and the clink of a fork being set down. And despite all of that, I said, turning slightly to face the guests, when I flew out here, on my own dime, in a suit I bought for this exact night, I was told I wasn't on the guest list. That I wasn't real family. That I was just the ATM keeping the lights on. I gestured around the room. So happy birthday, Dad. My gift to you is truth. Now everyone here knows exactly who made tonight happen. Everyone knows now, I said, raising my glass a little higher. Knows exactly how you treat your own son. I let the moment breathe. To clarity, to truth, and to finally being free of financial guilt dressed up as family obligation. I took a slow sip, set the glass down on the table, and looked out across the room. Silence. Thick, unmoving. Then I turned to the guests, gave a nod. Enjoy the rest of the night, folks. The cake's excellent, by the way. I picked the flavor myself during one of the planning calls. I turned and walked away, calm and unhurried. My aunt gave my shoulder a quick squeeze as I passed. My uncle met my eyes and gave a solemn nod. No words, just understanding. Behind me, the unraveling began. My stepmom jumped up, yelling that I was lying. My brother tried to storm the stage and grab the mic. Dad just sat there, staring down at his plate, not moving, not saying a word. I didn't look back. Not once. I walked out the way I came in, a head held high. But this time, without the weight of 6 years strapped to my back. In the days that followed, everything played out exactly like you'd expect. Dad's texts came in fast and frantic, shifting from angry to pleading once the money faucet dried up. Stepmom started rethinking her commitment once the financial cushions disappeared. My brother got a front row seat to the stress Dad used to dump on me. How could you do this to me? After everything I've done for you? This is a huge misunderstanding. Call me. The mortgage is due. I thought we had an understanding. Now she's talking about leaving. Is that what you wanted? Please, son. I read every word. I didn't answer a single one. 6 years of manipulation. 6 years of being emotionally leveraged and financially drained under the banner of family. That was more than enough. Then the calls started from people I barely knew. Some reached out to scold me, told me I embarrassed Dad in front of everyone. But others? They admitted they'd wondered for years how he was living like that on a retiree's income. One cousin called. Hey, I've got to ask. Was all that true? Everything you said. Every word I said. Every dollar. Every broken promise. Jesus, he muttered. I always thought it didn't add up. But I figured maybe he hit the lottery or had investments or something. His only investment, I said, was me. There was a pause. For what it's worth, he said before hanging up, you got screwed. Bad. A voicemail came in from my aunt, Dad's sister. I'm proud of you, she said. For standing up for yourself. I always knew something felt off with her. Your father wasn't like this before she came around. Call me if you ever need anything, okay? I appreciated it. I did. But it was too little, too late. Where were they when he started bleeding me dry? When the calls changed from catching up to, hey, bud, can I ask a favor? Where was the concern when a retired construction worker suddenly started living like a hedge fund manager? The most unexpected call came from my uncle, Dad's older brother. We were never close. I always got the impression he didn't think much of me. I saw what happened, he said, voice low and gravelly. Your old man was way out of line. Thanks for backing me up in there, I said. The look on your stepmom's face when you dropped that number? Priceless, he chuckled. But seriously, your dad should have never let it get that far. No, I said, he shouldn't have. He got quiet for a beat. Then he said, you know, your grandfather wasn't any better. Treated your dad like cheap labor growing up. Promised him a stake in the family business, then sold it off behind his back. Never gave him a dime. Dad always said he'd never be like that with his own kids, I said. Yeah, my uncle muttered. Guess some patterns are harder to break than others. Maybe, I said. But I broke it. There was a pause. Good for you, he said. I still didn't reply to Dad's texts. Not one. Instead, I took the 10 grand I'd set aside for his next emergency, the next urgent repair, or overdue bill and spent it on something I'd been putting off for years. I didn't even bother flying back to Chicago first. I rerouted straight to Portland and spent 2 weeks backpacking through national parks across the Pacific Northwest. No phone, no email, no family drama. Just nature, some well-worn trails, and the clean, quiet feeling of finally owning my life again. When I got back, tanned, sore, and more at peace than I'd been in years, there was a letter waiting for me. Handwritten. From Dad. Son, I don't expect you to forgive me. What I did was wrong. No excuses. The party was Marla's idea. She said it would be awkward to have you there after we argued about the kitchen remodel. I should have pushed back. I should have stood up for you. Truth is, I've been drowning for years. First in debt, then in the lies I told to cover it. And it got easy to lean on you. You never said no. Never made me feel ashamed. And I took advantage of that in the worst way. Marla left last week. Took what she could carry. Emptied our joint account. Your brother's pissed at both of us, at you for cutting off the money and at me for not having a backup plan. He's moving in with some friends. I've listed the house. I can't keep up with the payments anyway. I need to start paying you back. It might take the rest of my life, but I have to try. I miss who we used to be. I miss who I used to be. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. No strings. No asks. Just your dad who knows he failed you and hopes one day you'll let him make it right. Love always. Dad. I folded the letter, tucked it back into the envelope, and placed it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'll call him. Maybe one day I'll be ready to talk, even forgive him. But that day isn't today. Today, I called a financial advisor to set up a retirement account. For me. Today, I put myself first. People ask if I regret how it all went down. I don't. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. I helped because I wanted to. Because I remembered the dad who worked weekends to buy me baseball gear and drove me to college in that beat-up Ford. But that guy, the man who showed up for me, he's gone. Replaced by someone who saw me as a convenient walking bank account. He didn't want me at that party. Just my money. And when people show you your value to them, you better believe them. Sometimes the clearest mirror you can hold up to someone is just the truth. No yelling. No tantrums. Just the facts. And sometimes the best birthday gift you can give is reality.